Welcome to our journey through one of the most iconic landmarks in the world, a space that has captured the imagination of millions, a sanctuary in the heart of one of the busiest cities on Earth, Central Park in New York City. Central Park is not merely a patch of greenery in the concrete jungle. It is a living symbol of urban planning, human ingenuity, and social aspiration. It represents a vision of public space that was revolutionary in its time, and it continues to serve as a cultural, recreational, and environmental anchor in the city. But before it became the serene and beautifully curated oasis we know today, the land that would eventually become Central Park had a very different story. It was rough, untamed, and far from the idyllic landscape that visitors now enjoy. Understanding the park's origins requires us to step back into the early 19th century, a period of immense change for New York City. In the early 1800s, New York was rapidly evolving from a modest port city into a burgeoning metropolis. The population was growing at an unprecedented pace, driven by waves of immigration from Europe, particularly from Ireland and Germany, as well as internal migration from rural parts of the United States. This influx of people brought vibrancy and diversity, but it also created pressing urban challenges. The city was crowded, sanitation was poor, and open, accessible spaces for recreation were virtually non-existent. Wealthy citizens could enjoy private gardens, but the majority of New Yorkers had little access to areas where they could escape the dense, chaotic streets. It was in this context that the idea of a large public park began to take hold, a space where people of all classes could enjoy nature, breathe fresh air, and experience a sense of communal well-being. The land that was eventually designated for Central Park was, at the time, largely undeveloped and considered undesirable. It was rocky, marshy in parts, and dotted with small farms, homesteads, and informal settlements. Among these settlements was Seneca Village, a vibrant African-American community that had been established in 1825. Seneca Village was a place of relative prosperity for its residents, many of whom were property owners at a time when African-American land ownership was a rare and significant achievement. The village had churches, schools, and cultural institutions, making it a strong and self-sustaining community. However, despite its contributions to the city, Seneca Village would ultimately be displaced to make way for the park. This displacement is a critical part of Central Park's story, reflecting the complex social and political dynamics of urban development, where the creation of public goods sometimes came at the expense of marginalized communities. The concept of a public park in New York was influenced by broader movements in urban planning and landscape design that were emerging in Europe, particularly in England. English cities had begun to experiment with large urban parks as spaces for leisure, health, and civic pride. Public parks were seen as a means to improve the physical and moral health of the urban population, providing an environment that encouraged exercise, contemplation, and social cohesion. New York City planners and civic leaders were inspired by these ideas, seeing in them a solution to the growing pressures of urban life. They envisioned a park that would not only beautify the city, but also serve as a democratic space, accessible to all residents regardless of wealth or status. The formal push to create Central Park began in earnest in the early 1850s. In 1853, the New York State Legislature passed an act that authorized the city to acquire more than 700 acres of land in the northern part of Manhattan for the creation of a large public park. This was an ambitious and, in some ways, controversial move. The acquisition of land required the displacement of existing residents and businesses, and it faced opposition from those who feared the costs and disruptions involved. However, Proponents argued passionately that the park would be a transformative addition to the city, providing long-term benefits that far outweighed the immediate costs. They saw it as a necessary investment in public health, urban beauty, and civic pride. To design the park, the city held a competition that attracted many talented landscape architects and designers. The winning proposal came from the collaboration of Frederick Olmsted and Calvert, Vaux, two men whose partnership would leave an indelible mark not only on New York, but on the field of landscape architecture as a whole. Olmsted, an American journalist and social thinker with a deep appreciation for the natural world, brought a vision that emphasized harmony with nature, democratic accessibility, and social purpose. Vaux, an English-born architect, contributed his expertise in design, perspective, and artistic composition. Together, they created the Greensward Plan, which proposed a park that would blend naturalistic landscapes with carefully designed features to create an environment that felt both spontaneous and harmonious. Their vision was revolutionary. Rather than imposing rigid geometric layouts, Olmsted and Vaux sought to work with the land's natural contours, enhancing its beauty while preserving a sense of organic flow. They planned rolling meadows, wooded groves, winding pathways, artificial lakes, and serene watercourses that would appear untouched by human hands. Bridges, arches, and terraces were carefully placed to complement the scenery rather than dominate it. The design encouraged visitors to wander, explore, and discover, creating a sense of adventure and tranquility within the city. Importantly, they envisioned a park that was democratic in nature. Unlike private estates or exclusive gardens, Central Park was meant for everyone. It was a place where the rich and poor could walk side by side, where families could picnic, children could play, and individuals could find solitude and inspiration amidst natural beauty. Implementing this vision was a monumental task. The terrain of Manhattan was challenging, with rocky outcrops, steep slopes, and wetlands. Workers had to excavate rock, fill marshes, plant thousands of trees, and create artificial lakes and hills. The construction required enormous labor, and much of it was done by Irish immigrants who faced grueling working conditions. Despite these challenges, the park slowly began to take shape, and by the time portions of it were opened to the public in the late 1850s, it had already begun to transform the city's landscape and social life. The creation of Central Park was also intertwined with broader social movements of the era. The mid-19th century was a time of intense debate about urban life, public morality, and the role of government in providing for the welfare of citizens. Parks were seen not merely as aesthetic enhancements, but as tools for social reform, places where the urban population could be uplifted morally and physically. Olmsted, in particular, believed that exposure to nature could cultivate virtues, improve mental health, and foster civic responsibility. In his writings, he emphasized that parks should provide relief from the stress and congestion of city life, offering a restorative experience that nurtured both body and mind. At the same time, the park's creation reflected the economic and political realities of New York. Land acquisition required negotiations, compensation, and, in some cases, the exercise of eminent domain. The city had to balance competing interests, including the needs of developers, the rights of existing residents, and the vision for public space. This process was neither smooth nor uncontested. Debates raged in newspapers and public forums, and tensions arose between those who prioritized private interests and those who championed the public good. Central Park's history, therefore, is as much a story of civic negotiation and political will as it is of landscape design. The opening of Central Park, even in its incomplete form, had an immediate impact. It became a gathering place for New Yorkers, offering opportunities for walking, riding, picnicking, and simply enjoying the outdoors. The park's meadows, wooded areas, and water features provided a dramatic contrast to the surrounding city streets, creating a sense of escape and wonder. Visitors marveled at the careful attention to detail, from the placement of trees to the views framed by bridges and terraces. The park encouraged exploration, reflection, and social interaction, fulfilling Olmsted and Vaux's vision of a democratic, restorative space. Over time, Central Park would become more than a recreational area. It became a cultural symbol, a site for artistic inspiration, political gatherings, and social events. Writers, painters, and photographers captured its landscapes, while musicians and performers used its spaces to entertain the public. The park became a canvas for the city itself, reflecting changing tastes, social values, and civic aspirations. Its significance extended beyond New York, influencing the design of parks in other American cities and establishing principles of landscape architecture that are still relevant today. The history of Central Park also serves as a reminder of the complexities and contradictions of urban development. While it provided a space of beauty and recreation for millions, it also involved displacement and disruption for the communities that existed before its creation. Seneca Village, for example, was razed, and its residents forced to relocate. This aspect of the park's history highlights the human costs often associated with large-scale civic projects, emphasizing that progress is rarely without sacrifice. It also invites reflection on questions of equity, representation, and the responsibilities of planners and policymakers in shaping urban environments. As we explore Central Park today, it is impossible to separate its physical beauty from the rich layers of history embedded in its landscapes. Every path, tree, and bridge carries stories of visionaries, laborers, residents, and visitors who contributed to its legacy. The park is a testament to the power of foresight, collaboration, and human creativity, demonstrating how thoughtful design can transform even the most challenging environments into spaces of enduring value. In many ways, Central Park represents a convergence of nature and civilization, where the ideals of democratic access, public health, and aesthetic harmony are realized in tangible form. It reminds us that cities are not merely collections of buildings and streets, but living organisms that require balance, planning, and care. The park's history teaches lessons about resilience, ambition, and the potential for human ingenuity to create beauty that serves the common good. From its rocky beginnings to its emergence as a beloved urban sanctuary, Central Park's story is a rich tapestry of social, cultural, and environmental threads. It embodies the aspirations of a growing city, the creativity of visionary designers, and the labor of countless individuals who shaped its landscapes. More than just a park, it is a living museum of urban history, a place where nature, art, and society intersect in profound and enduring ways. Walking through Central Park today, one can almost hear echoes of its past, the voices of families who picnicked on its lawns, the footsteps of laborers carving its paths, and the discussions of planners and politicians who envisioned a city transformed. The park's enduring presence in the heart of Manhattan is a reminder that thoughtful public spaces are vital to the health, happiness, and cohesion of urban communities. Central Park's story is far from static. It continues to evolve as the city grows and changes. Restoration efforts, community programs, and environmental initiatives ensure that it remains relevant and vibrant for future generations. Yet, at its core, the park still reflects the original vision of Olmsted and Vaux, a democratic, restorative, and beautiful space where the people of New York can come together, find solace, and experience the restorative power of nature. In telling the history of Central Park, we uncover not just the story of a park, but the story of a city, its people, and the enduring importance of public space in shaping human experience. It is a story of vision and struggle, of design and labor, of exclusion and inclusion, a microcosm of the broader dynamics that have shaped New York City itself. And so, as we step into the pathways, meadows, and groves of Central Park, we are walking not only through a park, but through a rich and layered history that continues to inspire and teach. It is a reminder that even in the heart of a bustling metropolis, beauty, nature, and human ingenuity can coexist, creating spaces that elevate the spirit, foster community, and endure across generations. In 1853, a pivotal moment arrived in the history of New York City. The state legislature approved the acquisition of more than 700 acres of land in the northern part of Manhattan to create what would become Central Park. This was not a simple task of clearing a few city blocks. It was a bold, visionary undertaking that required foresight, determination, and an unwavering commitment to the idea that urban space could serve the public good. At the heart of this vision were two men whose collaboration would come to define the park and influence the field of landscape architecture for generations: Frederick Olmsted and Calvert Vaux. Their partnership was a meeting of minds, one that combined the philosophical, social, and aesthetic insights of Olmsted with the artistic and architectural sensibilities of Vaux. Together, they produced a design that was revolutionary in its scope, its purpose, and its execution. Frederick Olmsted was not, by training, a landscape architect. He had been a journalist, a farmer, and a social reformer, yet he possessed an extraordinary understanding of human nature, society, and the restorative power of nature. He believed deeply that cities needed open, democratic spaces where all citizens could enjoy the benefits of greenery, fresh air, and respite from the pressures of urban life. Olmsted's philosophy was rooted in the idea that parks were not merely decorative, but essential to the health and moral development of the population. He argued that exposure to nature could cultivate virtues, encourage reflection, and improve both mental and physical well-being. His writings reveal a keen awareness of the social inequalities of the time and a commitment to creating spaces that would be accessible to everyone, from the wealthiest residents of Fifth Avenue to working-class families in tenement neighborhoods. Olmsted saw in Central Park an opportunity to shape not just the landscape, but the character of the city itself. Calvert Vaux, on the other hand, brought a complementary set of skills. Born in England, Vaux was trained as an architect and had a strong sense of aesthetic composition, perspective, and the artistic potential of urban landscapes. He understood how to craft spaces that were visually harmonious, emotionally resonant, and functionally practical. While Olmsted provided the philosophical and social framework, Vaux brought the design sensibility needed to translate those ideas into physical form. Their collaboration, formalized through the submission of the Greensward Plan, represented a union of intellect, artistry, and vision that was rare even among the great landscape designers of the era. The Greensward Plan was remarkable not just for its beauty, but for the underlying principles that guided it. Unlike many urban parks of the time, which relied heavily on geometric layouts and rigid symmetry, Olmsted and Vaux sought to create a park that felt natural, organic, and seemingly untouched. They believed that nature itself had an inherent aesthetic value and that a park should enhance that value rather than impose upon it. This approach was revolutionary. It required an extraordinary level of planning, foresight, and manipulation of the existing landscape. The land designated for Central Park was far from ideal. It consisted of uneven terrain, rocky outcrops, marshy areas, and small settlements, all of which posed challenges to the vision of a continuous, flowing landscape. Yet Olmsted and Vaux saw not obstacles, but opportunities. The design of Central Park was meticulously thought out. Rolling meadows were interspersed with wooded groves, providing both open spaces for recreation and secluded areas for reflection. Winding pathways encouraged exploration, offering visitors the pleasure of discovery as they moved through different parts of the park. Artificial lakes and ponds were created to add visual variety and to support recreational activities like boating and ice skating. Bridges, terraces, and arches were carefully positioned to frame views, provide vantage points, and integrate seamlessly with the surrounding environment. Every element of the design was intended to create a sense of harmony and balance, where the artificial and natural appeared to coexist effortlessly. Olmsted and Vaux were also deeply committed to the idea of accessibility and democracy in public spaces. Unlike private gardens or exclusive estates, which were often designed to impress or intimidate, Central Park was designed to be welcoming and inclusive. Its pathways were wide enough to accommodate large numbers of visitors, and its spaces were intentionally varied to cater to different uses and preferences. Families could picnic on the great lawn, children could play in meadows, and individuals could find solitude in secluded groves. The park was intended to foster a sense of community while also providing opportunities for private reflection, a dual purpose that reflected Olmsted's understanding of human needs and social dynamics. Implementing the Greensward Plan, however, was far from straightforward. The physical transformation of Manhattan's landscape was a massive undertaking, requiring the excavation of rock, the filling of swamps, the planting of tens of thousands of trees and shrubs, and the construction of roads, bridges, and artificial hills. Workers faced grueling labor conditions, often working long hours in harsh weather to carry out tasks that demanded both skill and endurance. Many of these laborers were Irish immigrants who had come to the United States seeking opportunity and escape from poverty in Europe. Their contributions were essential to the realization of the park, yet they often labored under dangerous and difficult circumstances, highlighting the human costs that accompanied large-scale civic projects. The construction of Central Park also involved complex social and political negotiations. The acquisition of land required the displacement of existing residents, including the inhabitants of Seneca village, whose homes, churches, and schools were razed. This aspect of the park's history underscores the often painful realities of urban development, where the creation of public goods can sometimes come at the expense of marginalized communities. While the park ultimately served the broader public interest, it is important to acknowledge the human toll involved in its construction and the stories of those who were displaced. Despite these challenges, the early portions of Central Park began to open to the public in the late 1850s. Even in its incomplete state, the park quickly became a destination for New Yorkers seeking respite from the crowded streets of the city. Visitors marveled at the carefully crafted landscapes, the interplay of light and shadow, the gentle curves of pathways, and the seemingly natural beauty of lakes and groves. The park provided opportunities for walking, horseback riding, carriage rides, picnicking, and social gatherings, offering a wide range of activities that catered to diverse interests and social classes. The opening of Central Park also had a profound cultural impact. It quickly became a symbol of New York City's civic ambition and commitment to public welfare. The park was celebrated in newspapers, journals, and artistic works, and it attracted attention from urban planners and designers across the United States and Europe. Its design principles influenced the development of other urban parks, including Boston's Emerald Necklace and Chicago's Lincoln Park, establishing standards for landscape architecture and urban planning that endure to this day. Olmsted and Vaux's vision extended beyond mere aesthetics. They were keenly aware of the psychological and social effects of public space on the urban population. Olmsted, in particular, believed that parks could mitigate the stresses of city life, promote moral and civic virtue, and provide a democratic arena where citizens of all backgrounds could interact on equal terms. He saw the park as a tool for social improvement, a place where individuals could experience the restorative power of nature, reflect on their place in society, and engage in healthy recreation. This holistic understanding of urban space was ahead of its time and remains influential in contemporary discussions of urban design, public health, and social policy. As construction continued into the 1860s and 1870s, Central Park grew into a complex tapestry of landscapes, structures, and recreational spaces. Bridges, tunnels, and arches were integrated seamlessly into the natural scenery, providing both functionality and aesthetic appeal. The careful placement of trees, shrubs, and meadows created a sense of depth, perspective, and natural rhythm. Artificial hills and water bodies were constructed to provide visual variety and to support recreational activities, while open lawns allowed for large gatherings, sports, and performances. The result was a park that appeared effortless, natural, and timeless, masking the enormous effort, planning, and ingenuity required to create it. The park's design also reflected a sensitivity to human movement and experience. Pathways were arranged to provide both direct and meandering routes, encouraging exploration while accommodating practical transportation needs. Vantage points were strategically positioned to offer dramatic views, surprise encounters, and opportunities for reflection. Every element of the park, from the smallest footpath to the largest meadow, was designed with intention, creating a cohesive and immersive experience that engaged the senses, emotions, and imagination. Central Park's impact on New York City extended beyond its physical and aesthetic contributions. It played a role in shaping the social and cultural identity of the city, providing a common space where people from diverse backgrounds could gather, interact, and share experiences. The park hosted concerts, public celebrations, political rallies, and recreational events, becoming a focal point for community life. Its presence elevated the value of surrounding neighborhoods, influenced real estate development, and helped define Manhattan's character as a city that valued both growth and quality of life. The legacy of Olmsted and Vaux's work is evident not only in the enduring beauty of Central Park, but also in the broader principles they established for urban design. Their emphasis on harmony with nature, democratic accessibility, and thoughtful planning continues to influence parks, public spaces, and urban planning initiatives around the world. Central Park stands as a testament to the power of vision, collaboration, and dedication, demonstrating how a single project can transform a city, enrich the lives of its residents, and leave a lasting impact on the field of landscape architecture. Through the creation of Central Park, Olmsted and Vaux not only shaped a physical space, but also contributed to a broader understanding of the role of public parks in society. They demonstrated that urban spaces could be designed to serve multiple purposes simultaneously: aesthetic, recreational, social, and moral. Their work highlighted the importance of considering human experience, environmental factors, and social equity in the planning of public spaces, setting standards that remain relevant more than a century and a half later. Central Park also illustrates the dynamic interplay between nature and human intervention. The park was carefully engineered to appear natural, yet every element was meticulously planned and executed. This blending of the artificial and natural, the intentional and seemingly spontaneous, creates a sense of timelessness and wonder. Visitors can lose themselves in its landscapes, unaware of the careful thought, labor, and ingenuity that shaped every hill, pond, and pathway. The story of Central Park in this period is one of ambition, creativity, and resilience. It is a story of visionaries who dared to imagine a different kind of city, of workers who labored tirelessly to bring that vision to life, and of a society grappling with questions of public good, social equity, and urban development. The creation of the park was a complex and multifaceted endeavor, reflecting the broader social, cultural, and political currents of mid-19th century America. As the park began to take shape, it became clear that Central Park was more than just a landscaped area. It was a transformative force in the city. It provided a template for integrating natural beauty, social function, and civic ambition in urban design. It demonstrated that thoughtful planning could create spaces that were both practical and inspiring, serving the needs of the population while enhancing the aesthetic and cultural life of the city. Central Park's design, construction, and early reception underscore the importance of vision, collaboration, and perseverance in shaping urban environments. The partnership of Olmsted and Vaux exemplifies how complementary talents and shared ideals can produce extraordinary results, leaving a legacy that endures across generations. The park remains a testament to their foresight, creativity, and dedication, illustrating how public spaces can enrich lives, foster community, and reflect the values of a society. Walking through the park today, visitors are enveloped by the beauty and serenity that Olmsted and Vaux envisioned. Rolling meadows, shaded groves, sparkling water bodies, and carefully framed vistas invite exploration, reflection, and recreation. The pathways encourage wandering, discovery, and connection with both nature and fellow visitors. Each element of the park tells a story not only of its design and construction, but also of the people who shaped it, the city that embraced it, and the enduring principles it represents. Central Park's creation was a defining moment in the history of New York City. It transformed the urban landscape, provided a model for public spaces, and demonstrated the profound impact that thoughtful design and civic vision can have on a city and its residents. The park's story is one of innovation, determination, and idealism, illustrating the potential of urban planning to create spaces that are beautiful, functional, and socially meaningful. Through the lens of history, Central Park emerges as a symbol of democratic access, social aspiration, and environmental stewardship. It embodies the belief that public spaces are essential to the health, happiness, and cohesion of urban communities. It reflects the enduring value of imagination, collaboration, and hard work, offering lessons that remain relevant in contemporary discussions of urban planning, landscape design, and public policy. As we reflect on this period of Central Park's history, we gain a deeper appreciation for the visionaries, workers, and citizens who contributed to its creation. We recognize the challenges they faced, the obstacles they overcame, and the ideals that guided their efforts. We see how a seemingly simple idea, a public park, could become a transformative force, shaping the physical, social, and cultural life of an entire city. Central Park's story in this era is not merely a historical account. it is a reminder of what is possible when vision, creativity, and determination converge. It illustrates how human ingenuity can transform the landscape, elevate the quality of urban life, and leave a legacy that endures across generations. It invites us to consider the importance of public spaces in our own lives and communities, and to reflect on the values, principles, and aspirations that shape the cities we inhabit. Building Central Park was an enormous undertaking, one that required immense vision, planning, and labor, as well as the ability to balance artistic design with the practical realities of urban development. When Frederick Law Olmsted and Calvert Vaux unveiled their greensward plan, they offered New York City a revolutionary idea, a park that would blend natural beauty with human ingenuity, serving both as a place of recreation and a sanctuary for contemplation. But translating that vision into reality was a far more complex challenge than anyone could have anticipated. The land designated for Central Park, while vast, was far from ideal. It consisted of more than 700 acres of varied terrain, including rocky outcrops, swampy lowlands, dense thickets, and scattered settlements. The landscape presented logistical and engineering challenges that required creativity and determination to overcome. There were hills that had to be reshaped, marshes that needed drainage, and uneven ground that needed leveling to create pathways, meadows, and recreational spaces. This labor-intensive process required careful planning to ensure that the finished park would appear natural, seamless, and aesthetically harmonious, while also accommodating the practical needs of its visitors. One of the most significant challenges was the rock-strewn terrain. Manhattan's geology is dominated by a foundation of hard schist and other igneous rocks, which presented obstacles to landscaping and construction. Workers had to manually excavate these rocks to create lakes, pathways, and flat areas suitable for lawns and recreational facilities. The tools and machinery of the mid-19th century were rudimentary by modern standards. So much of this labor was carried out by hand, with pickaxes, shovels, and wheelbarrows. The work was grueling and time-consuming, requiring both skill and endurance. Despite these hardships, workers labored tirelessly to transform the raw landscape into the flowing, picturesque scenery envisioned by Olmsted and Vaux. Marshy and low-lying areas posed another significant challenge. Parts of the park were prone to flooding, and water management was essential to prevent stagnation, erosion, and damage to the landscape. Engineers designed and constructed drainage systems, channels, and artificial water bodies to control water flow, creating lakes, ponds, and streams that would appear natural while also serving functional purposes. These interventions were carefully integrated into the overall design, ensuring that the park's artificial elements enhanced rather than detracted from its naturalistic aesthetic. The construction of Central Park also required the relocation of existing structures and the displacement of communities, including the residents of Seneca Village, a predominantly African-American settlement with its own churches, schools, and cultural institutions. The decision to remove these communities was controversial and difficult, reflecting the tensions inherent in large-scale urban development. While the park ultimately served the broader public interest, the displacement of these residents highlights the social and ethical complexities involved in creating public spaces. The stories of those who were uprooted remain an important part of Central Park's history, reminding us that even visionary projects can have human costs. A significant portion of the labor force consisted of Irish immigrants, many of whom had arrived in the United States during the great waves of immigration in the mid-19th century. These workers faced harsh conditions, including long hours, physical danger, and exposure to the elements. Their contributions were essential to the completion of the park, yet their labor was often unrecognized and undervalued. The work required both physical strength and skill, as workers had to excavate rocks, plant thousands of trees and shrubs, and construct roads, bridges, and artificial hills. Despite the difficulty of the work, these laborers helped turn the vision of Olmsted and Vaux into a reality, leaving a legacy that continues to be enjoyed by millions of visitors each year. The construction process also involved innovative engineering and design techniques. Olmsted and Vaux were deeply committed to the idea that the park should appear as natural as possible, despite the extensive modifications required. This meant carefully shaping hills, valleys, and water bodies to create a sense of organic flow, designing pathways that encouraged exploration, and placing trees, shrubs, and rocks in ways that mimicked the randomness of nature. Every element was intentional, yet the overall effect was meant to feel spontaneous, as if the landscape had evolved naturally over centuries. Artificial lakes and ponds were among the most striking features of the park. These bodies of water were carefully designed to blend with the surrounding terrain, providing both aesthetic beauty and opportunities for recreation. Boating, fishing, and ice skating became popular activities in the park, enhancing its appeal to visitors of all ages. Bridges and arches were constructed to provide access across waterways while also framing picturesque views, creating moments of visual delight that reinforced the park's overall sense of harmony and balance. Roads and pathways were designed with both functionality and experience in mind. Broad, straight avenues allowed for carriage rides and practical transportation, while winding, meandering paths encouraged leisurely exploration and discovery. Visitors could stroll through meadows, navigate wooded groves, or follow hidden paths to secluded areas, experiencing a sense of adventure and surprise. Careful design of these routes ensured that the park could accommodate large numbers of visitors without feeling crowded or chaotic, enhancing both the practical and aesthetic experience. Planting was another critical aspect of the park's construction. Tens of thousands of trees, shrubs, and flowering plants were introduced, selected for their aesthetic appeal, adaptability, and seasonal variation. The placement of each plant was carefully considered to create visual depth, provide shade, and support the ecological health of the park. Olmsted and Vaux recognized that plantings were not merely decorative, but integral to the park's overall experience, shaping the atmosphere, mood, and sensory engagement of visitors. The construction of artificial hills and berms was another demonstration of ingenuity and artistry. These elevated features provided vantage points, framed views, and created a sense of topographical variety that enhanced the park's naturalistic appearance. The hills were carefully contoured to blend seamlessly with the surrounding landscape, supporting both aesthetic and recreational functions. Visitors could climb these hills for panoramic views, use them for sledding in winter, or simply enjoy the subtle changes in elevation that added interest and diversity to the park's terrain. In addition to physical construction, the park's development required careful attention to long-term maintenance and sustainability. Olmsted and Vaux were deeply concerned with how the park would evolve over time, anticipating the growth of trees, the movement of water, and the impact of visitors on the landscape. They implemented strategies to support the health of plants and trees, prevent soil erosion, and manage water flow, ensuring that the park would remain both beautiful and functional for future generations. Their foresight in planning for maintenance and ecological balance was unprecedented, setting a standard for landscape architecture and urban park design. Central Park also played a role in shaping social behavior and civic life. Olmsted believed that public parks could promote social cohesion, encourage healthy recreation, and provide a venue for moral and intellectual improvement. The park's design reflected these ideals, offering spaces for both active and passive recreation, for communal gatherings and private contemplation. Lawns, meadows, and open fields encouraged sports and games, while quiet groves and shaded paths provided opportunities for reflection and meditation. This duality, supporting both social interaction and individual experience, was a hallmark of Olmsted and Vaux's design philosophy. Throughout the construction process, there were challenges related to funding, public opinion, and political support. Building a park of this scale required substantial investment, and city leaders had to justify the expense to taxpayers who were sometimes skeptical of its value. Critics questioned the practicality of the project, the cost of land acquisition, and the impact on existing communities. However, supporters argued that the park was a necessary investment in the city's health, culture, and future prosperity. The debates surrounding Central Park's construction reflected broader societal questions about urban development, public welfare, and the role of government in providing communal spaces. By the time Central Park officially opened in stages beginning in 1858, it was already clear that the park would have a profound impact on New York City. Even unfinished sections attracted visitors who marveled at the beauty, variety, and careful design of the landscapes. The park offered a dramatic contrast to the crowded, noisy streets of Manhattan, providing a space for relaxation, recreation, and social engagement. Its appeal transcended social class, drawing both wealthy residents and working-class families, creating a truly democratic public space that fulfilled the vision of its designers. The early years of the park also revealed the importance of programming and management. Maintaining the park's beauty and functionality required ongoing attention to planting, drainage, road maintenance, and visitor behavior. Olmsted and his successors implemented policies and practices to preserve the park's integrity, including rules governing the use of pathways, lawns, and recreational areas. These early management strategies ensured that the park could accommodate a growing number of visitors while maintaining the aesthetic and ecological goals established in the Greensward Plan. Central Park's construction also had broader implications for urban planning and landscape architecture. It demonstrated the potential for large-scale, carefully designed public spaces to transform cities, improve the quality of life, and foster social cohesion. The park became a model for other urban parks in the United States and abroad, inspiring designers and planners to integrate naturalistic landscapes, democratic accessibility, and thoughtful planning into the development of public spaces. Olmsted and Vaux's work established principles that continue to influence urban design, from the arrangement of pathways and plantings to the integration of water features, topographical variety, and recreational amenities. In reflecting on the construction of Central Park, it is important to recognize both the human effort and the ingenuity involved. The laborers, engineers, and designers who contributed to the project transformed a challenging landscape into a harmonious, functional, and aesthetically compelling space. Their work required not only physical endurance, but also creativity, problem-solving, and an understanding of both natural and social systems. The successful execution of the Greensward Plan was a testament to the collaboration of diverse talents, the vision of its leaders, and the determination to create a lasting public good. The construction of Central Park also underscored the interplay between human ambition and natural systems. Olmsted and Vaux worked with the land's natural features, enhancing its beauty while addressing practical challenges. Hills, valleys, water bodies, and plantings were carefully engineered to create an environment that felt organic and timeless. Visitors today may perceive the park as effortlessly natural, but every element reflects careful design, labor, and foresight. The park is, in essence, a masterful blend of art, science, and social purpose, illustrating how human creativity can harmonize with the natural world. Central Park's construction also had a lasting impact on New York City's cultural and social life. By providing a space for recreation, reflection, and social interaction, the park contributed to the city's identity as a vibrant, progressive, and inclusive urban center. It fostered a sense of civic pride and demonstrated the potential of public investment to enhance the quality of urban life. The park became a venue for cultural events, gatherings, and celebrations, reinforcing its role as a central feature of the city's social fabric. The challenges faced during the construction of Central Park also highlight the broader historical context of mid-19th century New York. Immigration, urbanization, industrialization, and social reform all shaped the city's development and influenced the park's creation. The labor of immigrant workers, the displacement of communities, and the debates over public investment reflect the complex social dynamics of the period. Central Park, therefore, is not only a physical landscape but also a historical document revealing the aspirations, conflicts, and achievements of a rapidly growing city. In conclusion, the construction of Central Park was a monumental achievement that required vision, labor, and innovation. Olmsted and Vaux's design transformed a challenging landscape into a harmonious, functional, and beautiful space that has endured for more than a century and a half. The park's creation involved the collaboration of designers, engineers, laborers, and city leaders, as well as the displacement of communities and the negotiation of political and social challenges. Through their work, Olmsted and Vaux demonstrated the transformative power of thoughtful urban design, creating a space that continues to serve the public, inspire designers, and shape the cultural and social life of New York City. Central Park remains a testament to the enduring value of vision, labor, and collaboration. Its creation illustrates the potential of human ingenuity to harmonize with nature, transform urban environments, and provide spaces that enhance social, cultural, and environmental well-being. As visitors walk its pathways, enjoy its meadows, and explore its groves and lakes, they are experiencing the legacy of a remarkable achievement, one that continues to inspire and educate generations about the possibilities of public space, design, and civic ambition. Over time, Central Park grew beyond its original function as a landscaped recreational space and became a powerful symbol of culture, social interaction, and civic identity in New York City. While Frederick Law Olmsted and Calvert Vaux had designed the park to provide aesthetic pleasure and restorative experiences for city dwellers, the reality of its impact extended far beyond their initial vision. The park began to shape social norms, cultural practices, and public life in ways that its creators may have only imagined, influencing not just the physical landscape, but the social fabric of one of the world's most rapidly growing cities. One of the most striking aspects of Central Park's development in the decades following its construction was its role as a democratizing space. In a city increasingly divided by class, ethnicity, and wealth, the park offered an environment where people from diverse backgrounds could mingle, interact, and enjoy the same amenities. Wealthy New Yorkers could promenade along the scenic drives in horse-drawn carriages, while working-class families and immigrants could enjoy picnics, strolls, and leisure activities on the open lawns. This democratic ethos was central to Olmsted's philosophy. Public parks were intended to promote social cohesion by providing spaces where people of different social strata could encounter one another in a neutral, respectful, and restorative environment. In this sense, Central Park was more than a recreational area. It was a laboratory for social harmony, a physical manifestation of the belief that access to nature and beauty should not be limited by wealth or status. The park's role in social life was further enhanced by the variety of activities it accommodated. Olmsted and Vaux had deliberately designed Central Park to include both active and passive recreational spaces. Expansive meadows and fields supported games, sports, and physical exercise, encouraging healthy lifestyles among the urban population. Meanwhile, quiet groves, wooded paths, and secluded benches provided spaces for contemplation, reading, and leisure. This duality of purpose allowed the park to appeal to a wide audience, from families and children seeking play areas to intellectuals and artists seeking inspiration in nature's tranquility. By balancing activity and serenity, the park fulfilled both physical and psychological needs, reinforcing its role as an essential component of urban life. Music and performance quickly became central to Central Park's cultural significance. Open-air concerts, theatrical performances, and musical events were held on the Great Lawn and in other spaces throughout the park. These gatherings provided free or low-cost entertainment to the public, making high culture accessible to a broader audience. The park became a venue where New Yorkers could experience orchestral music, folk performances, and civic celebrations, fostering a sense of shared cultural life. Olmsted himself understood the power of such events to enhance social cohesion, creating opportunities for people to gather, interact, and participate in collective experiences that reinforced community identity. Central Park also played a critical role in shaping leisure practices in the city. Prior to its creation, urban recreation had been limited, often confined to private gardens, social clubs, or informal gatherings in public squares. With the park's arrival, organized leisure became an integral part of city life. People began to plan outings, family picnics, and social visits around the park's amenities. The design of pathways, benches, and scenic points encouraged exploration and movement, creating a sense of adventure and engagement with the landscape. Visitors could wander through wooded groves, navigate winding paths, or ascend artificial hills to gain panoramic views, experiencing both novelty and discovery with each visit. The park's design, therefore, not only provided physical space for recreation, but also shaped the ways in which people interacted with their urban environment. In addition to fostering social interaction and leisure, Central Park became a stage for civic engagement and public expression. Political rallies, social demonstrations, and community gatherings were held within its boundaries, transforming the park into a forum for democratic participation. Activists, reformers, and community leaders recognized the power of the park's visibility and accessibility to communicate ideas, mobilize support, and engage citizens. By providing a venue for public discourse, Central Park contributed to the city's democratic culture, reinforcing the notion that urban space could serve not only recreational and aesthetic purposes, but also civic and political ones. The park's design also reflected and reinforced broader cultural values of the 19th century. Olmsted and Vaux were influenced by contemporary ideas about health, morality, and social responsibility. Exposure to natural beauty was believed to cultivate virtue, temperance, and self-discipline, offering relief from the stresses of urban life. Central Park was conceived as a moral as well as a physical environment, one that could elevate the human spirit while promoting health and well-being. This integration of social, psychological, and aesthetic objectives made the park an innovative model for urban design, demonstrating that public spaces could serve multiple purposes simultaneously. The cultural impact of Central Park extended to the arts. Writers, painters, and photographers were drawn to its landscapes, capturing its meadows, groves, lakes, and bridges in works that celebrated its beauty and significance. Artists appreciated the interplay of light and shadow, the contrast between open spaces and dense foliage, and the carefully framed views that Olmsted and Vaux had designed. The park became a source of inspiration, influencing artistic movements and contributing to the cultural identity of New York City. Its landscapes were reproduced in paintings, sketches, and photographs, helping to shape public perception of urban nature and reinforcing the park's role as a cultural icon. Central Park also played a role in the development of sports and recreation in the city. The park's expansive fields and meadows provided space for informal games, organized sports, and physical training. Baseball, cricket, and later soccer and tennis became popular activities, reflecting the growing interest in organized recreation and physical fitness. The park's design accommodated both casual and competitive play, supporting the development of new leisure practices and contributing to the evolution of urban sports culture. By providing accessible, well-maintained spaces for physical activity, Central Park encouraged healthy lifestyles and reinforced the connection between public space and social well-being. Despite its many successes, Central Park faced challenges in its early decades. Maintaining the park's extensive landscapes, waterways, and structures required ongoing attention and resources. Weather, overuse, and limited funding sometimes led to deterioration, highlighting the need for effective management and stewardship. Early efforts to address these issues included hiring dedicated staff for maintenance, implementing regulations governing the use of pathways and lawns, and establishing routines for planting, irrigation, and care. These strategies ensured that the park could continue to fulfill its aesthetic, recreational, and social functions, preserving its value for the growing urban population. Central Park's evolution also reflected broader demographic and social changes in New York City. As the city's population grew, including waves of immigrants from Ireland, Germany, Italy, and later Eastern Europe, the park became a space where diverse communities could converge. Its democratic design allowed people of varying social, ethnic, and economic backgrounds to share common spaces, participate in communal activities, and experience a sense of belonging. The park, thus, contributed to the integration of diverse populations into the social fabric of the city, fostering interactions that might not have occurred in other urban contexts. The park's role as a cultural hub continued to expand in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Concerts, theatrical performances, and public celebrations drew large audiences, creating shared experiences that reinforced community identity. Seasonal events such as winter skating, spring flower displays, and summer picnics provided opportunities for ongoing engagement with the landscape, ensuring that the park remained a central feature of urban life throughout the year. These activities helped to institutionalize leisure practices in the city, shaping norms around recreation, social interaction, and cultural participation. Central Park also became a focal point for innovation in urban management and design. Olmsted's emphasis on careful planning, ecological balance, and social purpose influenced the development of other parks in the United States and abroad. Cities sought to replicate Central Park's success, recognizing the value of public spaces that combined aesthetic beauty, recreational opportunity, and social inclusivity. The park set standards for landscape architecture, urban planning, and public engagement, demonstrating that thoughtful design could transform not only physical environments but also social and cultural life. At the same time, Central Park's history reflects the complexities of urban development. The displacement of communities such as Seneca Village highlights the tensions between public benefit and individual rights, raising questions about equity, representation, and social justice. The labor of immigrant workers, who endured harsh conditions to construct the park, underscores the human effort and sacrifice involved in creating public amenities. These aspects of the park's history remind us that large-scale urban projects are shaped by both vision and negotiation, aspiration and compromise, creativity and constraint. Over time, Central Park became a stage for civic identity and pride. Its presence reinforced New York City's reputation as a forward-looking, ambitious, and culturally vibrant metropolis. The park's design, maintenance, and programming reflected values of inclusivity, health, and aesthetic refinement, serving as a model for how urban space could enhance quality of life. Residents and visitors alike came to see the park not merely as a recreational area, but as a symbol of the city's vision, ambition, and commitment to public welfare. The park also played an important role in environmental awareness and appreciation. By preserving a large expanse of naturalistic landscape within the urban core, Central Park provided city dwellers with opportunities to connect with nature, observe wildlife, and experience seasonal changes. This exposure to natural environments fostered ecological awareness, inspired conservation efforts, and demonstrated the value of integrating green spaces into urban planning. Olmsted's foresight in designing landscapes that were both aesthetically pleasing and ecologically sensitive remains influential in contemporary discussions of sustainable urban design. Central Park's role in shaping social, cultural, and recreational life continued to evolve as the city grew. By the early 20th century, it had become a central feature of civic identity, attracting millions of visitors annually. Its pathways, meadows, and recreational facilities supported a wide range of activities, from informal play to organized sports, from cultural performances to solitary contemplation. The park's design encouraged engagement, exploration, and reflection, creating a dynamic environment that responded to the needs and desires of the public while maintaining its aesthetic integrity. The cultural significance of Central Park extended to education and intellectual life. Schools, universities, and civic organizations used the park as a venue for learning, observation, and research. Naturalists, botanists, and geologists studied its landscapes, while artists and writers drew inspiration from its vistas. The park's integration of beauty, utility, and accessibility made it a living classroom, reinforcing its role as a space that could educate, inspire, and cultivate civic awareness. Central Park also influenced broader patterns of urban development. Its presence increased property values in surrounding neighborhoods, shaped transportation routes, and influenced patterns of settlement and commerce. By providing a high-quality public amenity, the park enhanced the attractiveness of the city and contributed to its economic, social, and cultural vitality. Its success demonstrated that investment in public space could yield substantial returns in terms of social cohesion, civic pride, and urban quality of life. Despite the many successes of Central Park, maintaining its quality and relevance required ongoing effort. Overuse, weather-related damage, and periods of neglect threatened its integrity at various points in history. Restoration initiatives, management reforms, and community engagement were necessary to ensure that the park continued to serve its intended purposes. Organizations such as the Central Park Conservancy, established in the late 20th century, played a key role in preserving and enhancing the park, implementing strategies for maintenance, restoration, and public programming that allowed it to remain vibrant and accessible. In reflecting on Central Park's impact, it becomes clear that its significance extends far beyond its physical beauty. The park shaped social interactions, cultural practices, recreational norms, and civic identity in New York City. It provided a space where people of diverse backgrounds could come together, where leisure and culture could coexist, and where nature could be experienced in an urban context. Its design and management exemplified principles of inclusivity, ecological awareness, and social purpose that remain relevant today through concerts, performances, recreational activities, and everyday interactions. Central Park became a microcosm of urban society. It demonstrated how public spaces could serve multiple functions simultaneously, supporting physical health, social cohesion, cultural engagement, and aesthetic appreciation. The park's enduring popularity and influence reflect the success of Olmsted and Vaux's vision, as well as the ongoing commitment of city residents, workers, and organizations to its preservation and enhancement. Central Park's cultural, social, and recreational impact is a testament to the transformative potential of public space. It illustrates how thoughtful design, visionary leadership, and collaborative effort can create environments that enrich human experience, foster community, and inspire generations. The park's history demonstrates that public spaces are not merely physical constructs, but dynamic social, cultural, and ecological entities that shape and are shaped by the people who use them. As the park continued to evolve, it also became a site of memory, reflection, and storytelling. Monuments, memorials, and named features commemorated historical events, influential figures, and cultural achievements. Visitors could encounter the legacy of individuals and communities who contributed to the city's development, while also engaging with the living landscape as a space for personal experience and collective memory. Central Park, therefore, became not only a site of recreation and culture, but also a repository of civic identity, historical consciousness, and communal values. The park's influence extended beyond New York City, inspiring urban planners, designers, and civic leaders in other cities around the world. Its integration of naturalistic landscapes, democratic accessibility, and social purpose set a standard for urban parks, demonstrating the potential for public space to enhance urban life on multiple levels. Central Park became a benchmark for quality, creativity, and social impact, influencing the design of parks in cities across the United States and beyond. Through all these developments, Central Park maintained the core principles envisioned by Olmsted and Vaux: beauty, accessibility, functionality, and social purpose. Its landscapes were designed to be visually engaging, ecologically sustainable, and socially inclusive. Its pathways encouraged movement and exploration, while its open spaces supported a wide range of activities. Its cultural and civic programs fostered engagement, creativity, and learning. In fulfilling these principles, the park became an enduring symbol of what thoughtful urban design can achieve. In conclusion, the cultural impact of Central Park in the decades following its construction was profound and multifaceted. The park shaped social behavior, leisure practices, civic engagement, and cultural expression in New York City. It provided a space where people of diverse backgrounds could gather, recreate, and interact, fostering social cohesion and democratic engagement. It inspired artistic, intellectual, and educational pursuits, while influencing broader patterns of urban development, design, and public policy. Central Park became a symbol of the city's ambition, creativity, and commitment to public welfare, demonstrating the transformative potential of public space in shaping social, cultural, and civic life. The story of Central Park during this period underscores the enduring importance of vision, collaboration, and stewardship. It illustrates how human effort, creativity, and foresight can transform challenging landscapes into spaces that serve the public good, enrich cultural life, and foster social cohesion. Central Park remains a testament to the power of public space to shape human experience, inspire communities, and create a lasting legacy of beauty, utility, and shared purpose. As the years passed, Central Park continued to evolve not only as a physical space, but also as a social, cultural, and ecological institution that shaped the identity of New York City. Its influence reached far beyond its boundaries, impacting urban planning, recreation, social cohesion, and environmental awareness. By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the park had firmly established itself as a defining feature of the city, a symbol of civic pride, and a living demonstration of how urban public spaces could enrich society. One of the most notable aspects of Central Park's ongoing development was the increasing sophistication of its management and maintenance. The park's designers, Frederick Olmsted and Calvert Vaux, had anticipated the importance of long-term stewardship, understanding that a park of this scale required continuous care to preserve its beauty and functionality. Olmsted, in particular, emphasized the need for professional management, advocating for dedicated teams of gardeners, laborers, and administrators to oversee the park's landscapes, water systems, and recreational facilities. This foresight was crucial in ensuring that Central Park could withstand the pressures of heavy use, environmental challenges, and the passage of time. The management of Central Park became a model for professional urban park administration. Staff were organized into specialized roles, with gardeners responsible for planting, pruning, and maintaining trees and shrubs, while laborers handled roads, pathways, and water features. Supervisors ensured that the park's design principles were respected, while administrators coordinated events, recreational programs, and public access. This level of organization allowed the park to function efficiently, maintaining its aesthetic integrity while accommodating the growing demands of a rapidly expanding urban population. The principles of professional park management pioneered in Central Park would later influence parks across the United States and beyond, establishing standards for the care and oversight of large public landscapes. Central Park's evolution also reflected the changing social dynamics of New York City. Immigration, industrialization, and urbanization transformed the city's population, creating diverse communities with varying needs and expectations. The park's democratic design allowed people of different social, economic, and cultural backgrounds to interact, fostering a sense of shared space and common purpose. Irish, German, Italian, and later Eastern European immigrants, alongside native-born New Yorkers, frequented the park for leisure, recreation, and social gatherings. In this way, Central Park became a melting pot of urban life, a space where cultural differences could coexist and where social integration could occur in a natural, organic manner. Recreational innovation was another defining feature of Central Park's history during this period. The park's expansive fields, meadows, and open spaces provided opportunities for both informal and organized sports. Baseball, cricket, tennis, and later soccer became popular activities, supported by the park's careful design and maintenance. The availability of space and the careful planning of pathways, fields, and recreational facilities allowed visitors to engage in a wide range of physical activities, promoting health, well-being, and social interaction. In addition, seasonal activities such as ice skating, sledding, and boating encouraged year-round use of the park, reinforcing its role as a central feature of urban life. The integration of cultural programming further